everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming with a couple of new products. I've got the Kat Von D palette. This has some amazing colours in it. I got it I think at the end of last year, but I just haven't got around to filming with it. So we've got mattes, we've got shimmers, and then we've got some kind of like pressed glitters. I've also received the new Launch by Nude Sticks. These are so unique. These are the magnetic lip plush paints and they come in 7 shades. We've got a couple of vibrant shades in there, but most of them are quite nude. There's a beautiful nude tin in there as well. These were gifted to me, so I wanted to give them a go because they're like a kind of velvety gel texture. They're really unique and they can be used on the eyes, lips and cheeks. So you can either create a pop of colour or you can do a monochromatic look. I was going to do a monochromatic look, however I really want to use the Kat Von D eyeshadow palette because I haven't used it yet. So I'm just going to use these on my cheeks and lips for this tutorial. Last week I received another new product by NARS. They have released a new Tinted Glow Booster. So it looks like a foundation, it's more of a kind of like liquidy shimmer. I have the shade medium, so I'm going to pop this on the tops of my cheeks. Then I'm going to go in with the Natural Radiant Longwear foundation. This is a favourite of mine. This is beautiful. This is a different shade to the one I've got. This is a little bit darker than my skin tone. I also have the Radiant Creamy Concealer, another one that I love that I haven't used in ages, so I might actually just pop this on through the centre and that will lighten it. So moving on to the eyes, I'm taking the NARS Tinted Smudge-proof eyeshadow base. This comes in a few different shades. The one I'm using is medium. This is fantastic at neutralising your eyelids and concealing any kind of veins or blemishes or uneven skin tone. It has a doe foot applicator, so the application is super easy, and my top tip with this product is it is a fantastic concealer. It is beautiful under the eyes, it doesn't crease, it doesn't enhance fine lines. It's one of my favourite products for multi-use. So I apply that to the lid using the applicator, removing it off of any eyelashes that it sticks to, and then going in with a brush to blend that in. And you do want to work quite quickly with it because it does set in place. The idea is that it's going to prevent shifting and it doesn't crease and it's going to grip that eyeshadow, so it is going to set in place. So I work that in really quick with the brush just to spread it out over the space of the eyelid, and then I go in with a damp beauty blender. This is going to absorb any excess product, but it's also going to give you a beautifully streak-free base. Then I'm going into the Kat Von D Lolita Vida eyeshadow palette, and I'm taking the shade Sylvia and I'm working that on my MAC 286S Fluffy Duo Fibre brush into the socket of the eye, all the way from the outer corner to the inner corner, and this is going to be my transition shade, so I'm blowing this out quite a lot. Adjust the eyeshadow shape to suit your eyelid shape, whether that means you don't take it as high as the eyebrow bone or you wing it out further is completely up to you. So that first colour that we applied was the transition shade, which was a matte finish. So I'm going into another matte finish eyeshadow, only this one is slightly deeper in tone, and although we're going to trace the same area that we applied the first colour, we're going to make sure the placement of this one is slightly lower than the first shade. This is going to start to create a beautiful ombre effect, so the highest shade should always be the lightest colour that you applied first. Next we're going into another matte eyeshadow, and this one is kind of like a burnt orange tone. It is quite vibrant once it's on the skin, however in the palette it does look a little bit deeper. Again, we're almost tracing over the first colours that we applied, but this time the colour is actually coming onto the mobile lid, so it's still in the socket but coming down onto the lid. Then I'm buffing over everything with a clean blending brush to make sure everything is beautifully seamless. I want to add a beautiful subtle highlight to the brow bone. Since we've only used matte eyeshadow so far, I'm taking this shimmery, almost pinky champagne tone, and I'm using a flat brush to apply this. The reason I'm using a flat brush is because the bristles are all packed tightly close together. This means you don't really lose any of that eyeshadow between the bristles. It all kind of gets onto the skin and you can really buff it in for a smooth, frosted finish. Juanita is the darkest brown in the palette, so we're going to take this colour and buff this straight onto the mobile eyelid all the way up to the socket line and into that orangey shade that we've got going on there. We want to really layer this up and concentrate that colour into this socket line because we're going to cut a halo effect into the eyeshadow using some concealer, so we need a contrast between the socket line and the light colour on the mobile eyelid. If it's not dark enough, you'll lose the definition of that cut crease in the halo. I'm going back in and adding a small amount of the highlighter to the brow bone just to make sure we don't lose that through all of our blending. On a flat shader brush, which again has tightly packed bristles, I'm packing some of that Juanita colour onto the mobile lid on the inner corner and the outer corner to make sure we get enough definition. How you create the halo is completely up to you. I like to use a flat brush which I have from Anastasia Beverly Hills, and I've also used a little bit of the NARS Smudge-proof eyeshadow base, but you can use concealer, it's completely up to you. So we're creating a semicircle through the socket line, and then we're coming down in a bit of a wide V shape. Taking another flat eyeshadow brush, I'm spraying a very small amount of my Fix Plus onto it to dampen it, and then we're going to take the same colour we used on the brow bone, which has a shimmery finish to it, and using a flat shader brush, we're going to pack this onto the area that we've just shaped using the NARS Smudge-proof eyeshadow base, or possibly in your case concealer. Because the brush is damp and it's a flat brush, you can use the very tip of the bristles to start shaping that halo at the very top, and you can get a bit more of a clean finish. We're not looking for anything super sharp, we want it to still be quite soft but with some definition. Remember, this is more of a defined halo effect rather than a cut crease. Next I'm going to take a small brush and work this creamy foiled copper eyeshadow over the seam of the light colour that we've got on the eyelid and the brownie shade that we've got on the outer edges. We want this transition between the two. And this shade is perfect because it has that kind of orangey coppery undertone that we've got running through the actual socket of the eye, and the metallic reflective finish works with what we've got on the centre of the eye. I'm going to line my eyelids, but you don't have to. You can use a pencil, you can use eyeshadow. I'm going to mix some of the Inglot Duraline with the Bobbi Brown Longwear gel eyeliner in the shade Sepia Ink, which you know I'm a massive fan of. It's kind of that muddy brown shade which I really like. Especially for this look, I think black would just be too harsh against those kind of autumnal orange shades. And in case you are wondering, I'm using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Swish liner brush. So as you can see, I've created a nice little flick on the outer corner of the eye, but again, depending on your eye shape, you do whatever suits your eye. I'm also taking the concoction of the Duraline and the Bobbi Brown Longwear gel eyeliner across the waterline, and I'm also using its tight line. The reason I've mixed in the Inglot Duraline is because it makes it more fluid, but it also makes it more waterproof. Then I'm applying some Lancome mascara to my top and bottom lashes, but I'm not worrying too much about volume because I am going to apply some falsies. I am doing my top mascara before I fill in my lower eyelash line with eyeshadow, but it's completely up to you which way round you do it. It's just what I did on the day. So I'm just mimicking the top eyelash line using the orangey shade first, and then I'm going in with some brown really close to the root of the eyelashes. And then I am going in with some of the brow bone highlight on the inner corner of the eyes before applying a coat of mascara to my lower eyelashes. I'm topping that off with these Molly-Mae Everyday Eyelashes by Tatti Lashes. So I've done my eye makeup. I will do my brows once I've done my base makeup. So I'm going to go in with the NARS Tinted Glow Booster, and I'm only going to put this on the high points of the face. And you can wear this alone, you can wear it under makeup, you can wear it mixed in with a foundation for a more dewy finish. You can even wear it on top of your foundation. I'm going to buff this onto the skin using a duo fibre brush. This one is from MAC. It's the 130 short duo fibre brush. So it's not a really fine consistency. It's actually quite thick, but it is extremely lightweight on the skin, and it's not super glittery, but it really is dewy. You can see it kind of catches the light, but it's not got chunky particles in it. Having this under my foundation will just add a very subtle kind of glow from within look, and it will only really show up in certain lights. You can tap it in with your fingers as well. As I mentioned, I am going to go in with the NARS Natural Radiant Longwear Foundation. I'm a massive fan of this. It does give you a luminous finish, but it is really lightweight. This shade will be slightly darker than my skin on my face, and I'm going to lighten it with the concealer. The foundation itself is infused with raspberry, apple and watermelon, which has smoothing properties. Comes in 34 shades, and it's really buildable. You could mix it with some moisturiser if you want it to be a bit more sheer, but you can really get a lovely radiant full coverage, still natural looking finish with this. So I'm going to take the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer in the shade Custard, and I'm going to use that to bring some light to the centre of the face. I'm going to press that into the skin with my dampened beauty blender. Lots of people always ask whether beauty blenders are worth the money because they're not exactly cheap, not the real ones. And they really are, they're so good. You do need to make sure you clean it properly. It is best to buy the proper cleaner. I've tried a few different ones, and to be honest with you, the beauty blender cleanser that comes with it, or the one that you can buy to go with it, is one of the better ones for cleaning it. It really does remove all of the makeup. You can use stuff like dish soap, but I find that after a while they tend to break down the sponge. It's worth investing the money in the proper cleanser. Next I'm taking some of the Monsieur translucent powder, and I'm going to put that onto my beauty blender and just press that underneath the eyes and leave it just to set for a minute. This is going to absorb any moisture from the concealer, and it will give it more of a smooth finish. So just press it into the concealer. It doesn't have to be a white cast under your eyes. It will be a little bit whiter because there's a tiny residue of powder. You don't have to have a ton under there to bake it. And I'm just going to use what's left on the sponge to press that onto the centre of the face. Next I'm going to take a tiny amount of the Dip Brow Gel from Anastasia Beverly Hills, and I'm going to use that just to fill in my eyebrows. I thought I would just mix it up and do something different for a change. This is the Dip Brow Gel. It does come with a tiny applicator brush, but I'm just going to decant some of that onto the back of my hand and use it to fill in my eyebrows. I have a ton of tutorials on how I fill my brows in, so I'm not going to concentrate too much on the process. I'm using a tiny thin angled liner brush, which is the 317 angled liner from ZOEVA. And I'm using that to draw in tiny little hair stroke marks. To add some contour to the face, I'm going to take the Charlotte Tilbury contour wand. A little of this goes a long way. So just dab the tiniest amount on and blend it in as you go, because it is one of those products that kind of sets in place. So if you start on one side, you'll find by the time you get round, it will have already set and you'll have kind of dots or lines on your face. So just blend as you go. I like this because it's quite cool, so it sits really well in the hollows of the cheeks and just creates a nice shadow. So try not to bring your contour too far down the face. You can bring bronzer further down, but just keep your actual contour kind of no further than the outside corner of the eye. I just realised my mic wasn't switched on. So I'm adding a small amount into the temple area. If you apply too much, just tap it in with your fingers. And then also just a little bit around your hairline. Don't forget to take it into your hairline as well. Next I'm going to move on to the Nude Sticks Magnetic Lip Plush Paints. So I've got two shades. I've got Bahama Mama and Hot Paprika. Hot Paprika goes more with the orangey tones. So these are a velvety matte finish. It is a very unique kind of texture. You have to feel it to know what I'm saying. It's kind of like, it's got this kind of slip, silky, velvety finish. So although it's still kind of movable in terms of the surface layer, it still stains the lip, so it kind of doesn't wear off. And these are formulated with 8 natural extracts to them. I like to put it on and then blend it away with my finger on the cheeks. And you can just blend these in with your fingers. They're so soft. And you can really build them up as well. So you can shear them right down to just a very subtle wash on the cheeks, and then you can layer it again for a more intense finish. So as you can see, that just gives you a very subtle stain. Let's try this one with a brush. See how it works. So again, it just blends so easily. I feel like with the brush you get a bit more of a colour payoff, which is quite nice. And that completes this week's makeup tutorial. I hope you've enjoyed it. What are your thoughts on the Kat Von D eyeshadow palette? I really like it. I like that you can do a warm look and a more orangey autumnal look, and the textures are absolutely beautiful. I really want to dip into the glitters, but as I use the Tatti Beauty palette, just recently and it has the glitters. I thought maybe delve into that one in a week or two. Also, what did you think of the Nude Sticks products? Honestly, if you haven't tried them, go and give them a go. Even if you just go and sample them in store, they are phenomenal. They've got such a beautiful kind of velvety matte finish and they are lovely on the cheeks, they're lovely on the eyes, and they look beautiful on the lips as well. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, all the products I've used will be listed and linked in the description bar for your convenience. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and come follow me outside of YouTube if you want to see more behind the scenes. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!